Do you think being the nice guy in your handyman business and giving away freebies is harmless or hurting your business? Let's talk about all of these silent business killers that are lurking behind free jobs and some of the mindsets you might have walking into your business. My name is Becca. I run the Handyman system.
I'm Caleb, and I own North Seattle Handyman.
Fabulous. So what are silent business killers? We're going to go into some really common ones that North Seattle Handyman has dealt with in the downfalls and recognizing when you needed to get out of them. We're going to start with the one that I see the most often in this specific sphere, and that is giving your time or your jobs to your clients for free because I'm a nice guy. I know they're going to want the thing, but I feel bad charging for it. So why is this a business killer, Caleb?
Well, it's very rare that you give somebody a free job. What typically happens is that you sell somebody on one thing. Then when you get to the job site, they want to add small little things, and you feel pressured to do those for free. The reason why those are kind of business killers is because it's hard to run a business. It's hard to make money. And if you're doing stuff for free, it is going to put an enormous stress on you financially, also your business financially.
Something that I see quite a bit is a mindset issue where as the contractor, you're not valuing what you're bringing to the table. It's really easy for me. Of course, I can adjust that door. It's so easy for me that you're not recognizing how valuable it is to the person you're selling it to. You kind of let these other things creep in. Well, the customer's not going to say anything. They are like, phenomenal. I got a great deal. I'm going to tell everyone how great of a deal I got with you, which is another silent killer. You're setting yourself up to having an extremely full calendar because everybody loves you when you get known as the cheap or the good deal guy. You're going to end up with a very full calendar, but your bank account doesn't reflect the work that you're doing because you aren't valuing what you're doing. A lot of it comes down to saying, how do you make sure that you don't feel bad about the services you're doing? And I would say you start with figuring out what your actual numbers are so that you see what it takes to be profitable, and you know that if you dip below that number for your business, you are no longer being profitable, you're actively losing money, and it's going to stop you with that one number from doing it.
I believe you sell a worksheet.
So we have a pricing and projections document, which does that exact thing. It says, what are your expenses? What are your cost of goods and materials? How much do you want to bring in and what you need to pay yourself for your mortgage and your livelihood? And then it helps you go, I need to charge at least this much as an hourly base. And then for ease of math, say it's $100 an hour, and you go, to have a profitable business, I need to average $100 an hour. And somebody comes in and says, hey, can you do these couple things for free for me? Or you're like, maybe I'll offer this because I feel bad. And then you go, oh, but then it's going to bring it down to $80 an hour and I'm losing money. It's going to be fast to stop you in your tracks.
A mindset where you're thinking, if I do this for them, then they might give me more. They're like, you're going to set expectations that basically you're creating a bad customer.
Yeah.
If you set boundaries and very clear about your pricing, most people ultimately want you to come in and do a good job. If you open the door to these things, they're going to take you up on it.
Yeah. Why wouldn't they? You do it yourself, right?
So instead of doing that, you try to set really hard boundaries and say, this is what I'm worth. Can I do that? Yeah, no problem. It's going to cost this much.
Yeah. And so much of the pricing game in this situation is having that confidence. The pricing and projections document where you know what your number is gives you the ability to have the confidence in saying what it is. Clients and potential clients will see when you show up and they say, okay, how much is it going to cost? And you're like, maybe $500? That is screaming to the client, there's wiggle room, I can get him down.
So whether you feel confident about it or not,
you say it confidently.
You say, and you live with the consequences of that strong statement. It's not a bad idea when you're first getting into these things, a checklist of what my no's are. Before you interact with the customer, have a little cheat sheet of the things that you know you're trying to work on. How do I speak to this person? I say if they tell me, I have that pre-written out so that I'm visualizing them having that conversation with me. So when it happens, I have an answer. Oh, that seems kind of expensive. Well, you might think that's kind of expensive, but in actuality, you're missing these factors. The amount of labor that goes into all of this. And so if you do the math, that's kind of how it works out.
And so the customer doesn't necessarily want to do you wrong. They just are uneducated. So coming and saying, oh, actually, this is why it costs this much, and this is how we're going to get to the solution that you want. Then they go, oh, okay, it's not just about putting the paint on the walls or whatever it is. I'd like to move on to the next thing that is connected to not valuing your worth and not pricing enough, which is not being insured. A lot of handyman and small businesses that are not charging enough, there aren't enough profits. So the idea of spending $1,000 or $2,000 to have that insurance every year seems like it's a lot. You don't have the profits to put towards it. But that's actually a huge risk in your business because you're putting yourself on the line for a potentially very large bankruptcy.
If something goes wrong, I find that these things tend to be snowballs. If I'm very nervous about what I'm doing because I'm up against a financial wall of some kind, I'm not going to be trying to save every nickel. It will encourage me to maybe cut a corner or two because I'm feeling that financial pressure. So pricing yourself accordingly so that you are not put in that position makes it so that you can make sure that when you do the work, it's done appropriately. I often say to customers, some people might do it way, but that's not the way that it's supposed to be done. I'm going to do it the right way. And that's why it costs us, because I'm not going to cut a bunch of corners.
You just got to explain to the customer. A lot of people do way A, but there's this issue, and this issue with way A. We're going to do it way B, and it's going to have this benefit, and this benefit. Yes, it might be a little bit more expensive, but the customer needs to compare something. Do I want to save some money, but maybe the repair is not going to last as long, or maybe there's going to be other issues, or do I just want to do it right and not ever have to think about it again? They might pick bucket A, they might pick bucket B, but they're given that option. You're giving them that option, and it's your responsibility to convey it in a way that makes them understand it. Another one, and a lot of these silent killers have come down to the bottom line of your profits, of making money or not making money. Because if you're not making money, you're not going to be in business for long. One way that I see a lot of people struggle is they underestimate project costs. A little bit about that.
Well, there's the time it takes to do the project, and then there's the time it takes to manage a project, right? And if you're not pricing in some of the time that it takes to manage the project, which are the phone calls, the walkthroughs, picking up materials, delivering materials,
ordering
things like that needs to get captured somewhere. Otherwise, you're going to be doing, once again, a lot of work for free. And once again, this is about setting boundaries with your customer. I'm very open about the fact that I charge for all these things. And I say that very confidently. This is how I do business. And if you don't do business with me, fair enough. There are plenty of other fish in the sea. The big thing that you're trying to portray is confidence. Expensive because I'm pretty good at my job. I know what I'm doing.
Do you want to do it poorly today and have to do it again and pay twice, or do you want to just pay a little bit more today and never have to think about it again, right?
The other side of that would be paying your bills with tomorrow's money, right? So part of the way that you might be doing business is you ask for a retainer. You ask for some money down. So let's just say someone agrees to your pricing. The next stage is, okay, I want 20%, 50%, somewhere between 20 and 50% as a down payment to make sure that your customer doesn't continue to shop the job, right? So they don't say, oh, actually, already somebody else came and did it.
Or it's even
happened to me.
You show up to do the job and they go, oh, I had somebody do that last week. I don't need you. That entire day you thought you had work that went up in smoke.
So as a consequence of that, you're getting a lot of your money up front. And what can happen as a consequence of that is that you start paying today's bills with tomorrow's money. It can appear as if you're making money while you're not actually making money. So you need to have a process looking through your job and saying, how many of these hours did I actually bill? Separate from my bank account. Because accounting in construction companies is considered its own thing because of the very high materials costs and these retainers that are asked for. It's hard to tell how much money you're actually making sometimes.
Doing your books and having an accountant do your book will show you a profit and loss. You might have brought in $80,000 last month, but you spent $85,000. you're actually in the red and you're like, but I've got 60 grand in my bank account. Your bank account's a backward looking indicator, so it can tell you the wrong story.
It might be that you have $40,000 in retainers that you're going to be collecting on in
Down
a month.
the road.
And so while it looks like you have money, you're moving along, you're like, oh, I'm doing okay. I feel like I had a rough month, but my bank account's healthy. And then all of a sudden you'll have a month where all of those bills come due. And then you say, holy cow, I had $60,000 in my bank account and now I have nothing. Because I had to pay for those cabinets, I had to pay for this, I had to pay for that, and then I had to pay for my insurance.
So when it comes to it, the silent business killers really come down to money management for one, and then the other one is how you're getting clients, right? Another silent business killer, especially in 2024 and beyond, is neglecting your online presence, choosing to say, I only want to work word of mouth, I don't want to be found online, or there's a barrier because you don't feel like you understand the technology to be online. But in today's market, in 2024, the majority of human beings pick up their phone to do research online before they make a buying decision.
Yeah.
And if you're not found there, you're not going to get the business.
In business, it takes a minimum of 3 years to get word of mouth to the point where it could possibly sustain a business. It's not a mystery why most businesses fail first 3 years. You don't have a big enough base of people that want return work at that, or the power of word of mouth has not worked well. Yeah.
Your word of mouth, the people that are coming back to you are expecting a super cheap deal because that's what you did at the beginning. But now you say, I'm not $50 an hour anymore, I'm $100 an hour, and those people vanish. Having word of mouth is super powerful if done right, but if they're expecting a deal, it can be really painful. Where if you have that online presence, these people might not know you from anybody else. They just found you online and learned about you through your website. They don't have a frame of reference of what you charged 3 years ago.
Absolutely. I think that everyone says, well, is it a if or? No, it's a yes and.
Yes and.
You do all of it. It's important that you have word of mouth as a tool in your toolbox, but it's just one of many. Have your online presence. You might have a relationship with customers. You might have a network of other craftspeople will refer you work.
You're a handyman, electrician, a plumber, a landscaper, a house cleaner. Like those are all really great businesses to have in your network so that you diversify how leads find you.
Rise up.
Let's talk about our last one, and it just comes down to bad employees or bad subs. I want to go into what that means and how that can really affect your business if you have a not great employee or a not great subcontract relationship.
If you're not careful about who you hire, if you don't set boundaries and standards for your employees or for your subs, they're going to do what suits their business or their bottom line before the business's bottom line. So if I were to be a solopreneur and I were to hire, let's say the worst of cases is I say, oh, there's this guy I know. He's in his 50s, done a lot of handyman work. I see him at the bar all the time. He tells me he's great. And then I say, okay, yeah, I could use him. And then you hire him without properly vetting him, without setting any standards, and he shows up to jobs late. And then he does some questionable work, cuts a few corners over here. All of a sudden you realize, oh, he's at the bar every day.
Just doesn't have the level of attention that you and your clients are expecting because it comes back to your brand and your clients' expectations. It takes years to build up a brand where people trust you. A bad employee who just doesn't care or lazy or whatever that can undercut. If you don't catch it, you don't see what's happening, then you're going to have a disgruntled client. You're going to end up with bad reviews. People will ignore 1 or 2 bad reviews that seem like, oh, okay, there's context here. If there is a variety of the same issue coming up, people are going to be like, this isn't worth my time. I'm going to find the next person. You don't have control of that.
So let's say you really value your business. Now you're paying this guy $40 an hour because that's what was negotiated. But now you're spending time fixing the things he screwed up and still paying him because I need to fix this, but put him on the next job. He can get started on that. And then all of a sudden you're doing free work because it's warranty work. And you're just following this guy that's making a bunch of mistakes, doing a bunch of warranty. and you ultimately make less money, as opposed to finding someone who is a very good employee.
There's the idea of hire slowly, fire quickly. Isn't that the premise?
In our experience, if you're in the position where you want to hire people, listen to people. They'll tell you who they are. If they show up late in the first week, they're going to show up late all the time.
This is their best example of what's going on.
I've made a lot of compassionate mistakes, if you will, where I said, okay, I'm going to,
assume the best.
I wanted to believe in these people
Yeah.
because I hired them, and I'm a person who believes in people. That's one of my strengths, but it's also one of my weaknesses when I'm not paying attention to it.
You've learned some hard lessons with past employees. Both you and Pete understand the culture of what you want for your business, and that clients matter, even if it's going to be difficult for the next 2 weeks because you had this employee scheduled for various tasks and the need to reschedule everything if you let them go. It's worth the short-term pain to prevent long-term damage to your business.
At this point, I would say that I don't care who you hire. For the first 2 to 3 months, he should be working with you. So that over that long period of time, that person's either going to show that they really know what they're doing, or they're going to show that they don't. And if someone scoffs at, like, say, well, I'm a journeyman carpenter, I know what I'm doing, why are you over my shoulder the whole time? Well, the reason for it is because I have to make sure that you do things the North Seattle Handyman way. Like, you have to adjust to my way of doing business because it's my company. I sign the front of the checks, right? You know, so like that's one thing.
The interesting thing about all of these silent business killers is that it's never the first situation. It's never like that first interaction of being the nice guy and giving some services or some time for free. It's the snowball effect of that nice guy and what that teaches your clients. It's not the first time that you were a little bit willy-nilly with the funds in your bank account and you paid a little bit of today's bills with tomorrow's money. It's the snowball effect that happens. It's not an employee does one wrong thing. It's the snowball effect of them being like, oh, well, he was complacent about that, so I'll go to the bar, or I'll half-ass this job, or I'll do whatever, and the snowball effect that it ends up in your business. So where all of these, or I think we could end, is that all of these situations that we talked about come down to your people, your money, your value, and how you value yourself, and how people find you, right? Those 4 things, if done incorrectly, can snowball and put you out of business. But the flip side of it, if done well, can make you have a superb, very profitable, very good, thriving business.
Yes, absolutely. The same things that can destroy your business if done poorly, if done well, can make your business thrive.
Can give you a superb business. If you guys have any comments or any questions, go ahead and hit up the comments below. You guys have a good one.